Once the schedule has been set, it needs to be managed by the project manager to ensure the time spent on activities is in accordance with the schedule baseline. In this lesson, we'll discuss the process that lines up the activities with the schedule and keeps the project moving along smoothly, the control schedule process. Prior to the control schedule process, all time management related processes fell under the planning group. The control schedule process falls under the monitoring and controlling process group. The control schedule process determines the current status of the project schedule and influences the factors that may create schedule changes. The primary purpose of this process is to update the project's progress and manage any changes to the project schedule and the schedule baseline. What good is a solid plan if it doesn't align with the reality of the scheduled processes? Controlling the schedule is not just a reactive task, but it's also a proactive task. The project manager has to manage the schedule by making sure to track whether the project is ahead of schedule or behind schedule, and implement corrective or preventive actions while managing any changes. The inputs into the control schedule process include the project management plan, the project schedule, work performance data, project calendars, schedule data, and organizational process assets. It's important to note that if work performance data is an input to a process, work performance information will usually be an output of that process. When data is analyzed in a process, it turns into information. The tools and techniques used in the control schedule process include performance reviews. Performance reviews analyze the schedule's performance using various performance measurement techniques. These techniques include trend analysis. Trend analysis uses graphics that help a project manager to visually observe project performance over a period of time to determine whether it's been degrading or improving. The critical path method used in the develop schedule process can also be used in the control schedule process. A project manager can look at the activities on the critical path and keep an eye out for any slippage. These activities need to be closely monitored because if any of the activities on the critical path slip, then the project completion date will be negatively impacted. The critical chain method can also be used during the control schedule process. The project manager can keep an eye on the buffers in the critical chain activities for any indication of slippage. This can be done by comparing the planned amount of buffer against the remaining amount of buffer assigned to a task. Earned value management is used during the schedule and cost controls. EVM uses variances and performance indexes to assess the magnitude of any changes to the original schedule baseline. The fundamental premise of earned value management formulas is that the value of any work done is equal to the amount of funds that have been allocated or budgeted to complete it. As part of earned value management, a project manager will use the following information to assess the schedule and cost performance of a project. The planned value is the approved budget for the work that's scheduled to be completed by a certain date. When added up, the total of the planned value of a task is equal to the task's budget at completion, which is the total amount of time or money that has been budgeted for the task. Earned value is the value of the work that has actually been completed by a specific date. Actual costs are the costs that have actually been incurred for the work completed by a specific date. For example, if the schedule allows 10 days for the completion of a task and the budget for that task is $1,000, the planned value of that task is $1,000. After 5 days of work, the earned value would be $500. The actual costs are exactly just that. How much did the task actually cost after 5 and 10 days? Earned value management analyzes these factors using indexes and variances that help the project manager keep the project performing within its expected parameters. For the control schedule process, a project manager will use the schedule variances. The schedule variance is the difference between the amounts budgeted for the work done and for the work that has been planned. Schedule variances show if and by how much the project work is ahead or behind the approved schedule. The Schedule Performance Index is a ratio of the approved budget for the work performed as compared to the approved budget for the work that's been planned. The Schedule Performance Index reflects the project's schedule efficiency and shows a relative amount of how much the project is ahead or behind schedule. A project manager can use the Schedule Performance Index to analyze the performance for the remainder of the scheduled task. Project management software is always helpful when controlling the schedule by using modern and relevant technology for tracking events and anomalies throughout the project lifecycle. A lot of the same tools and techniques that were used during the create schedule process can also be used during the control schedule process. It makes sense that if these tools created the schedule, they can be useful in controlling the schedule. These tools and techniques include resource optimization techniques, modeling techniques, leads and lags, schedule compression, and scheduling tools. The outputs of the control schedule process include work performance information. Work performance information is the project performance data created by analyzing the schedule variance and the schedule performance index against the work packages. It's important to note that most of the processes that fall under the monitoring and controlling process group will have work performance information as an output. Once the data is analyzed and put into context in the work performance information, it can be used to create schedule forecasts. Schedule forecasts utilize the earned value management indicator of estimate at completion, which can be used to predict the future performance of the project against the project schedule. When a project is being monitored and controlled, that's when the project manager will discover deviations that may require changes to the baselines. These changes are never made arbitrarily, and they require a change request in order to go through the Perform Integrated Change Control process. Project management plan updates include any changes in the schedule baseline, the schedule management plan, and the cost baseline. Remember, time and cost are tightly linked. Any changes to the schedule will undoubtedly affect the project cost and vice versa. If variances are found, project document updates that integrate the new schedule data into the project schedule network diagrams is based on the corrective actions taken or planned. Changes to the project schedule and the risk register also need to be updated based on what is discovered while executing the control schedule process. Organizational process assets updates can include the reasons for the variations, any corrective and preventive actions along with their reasons and lessons learned. During a project's lifecycle, it's up to the project manager and the project team to make determinations that the previously approved schedule may need to be modified in one way or another in order to accommodate any new changes in the scheduled events. This may be because an event is running behind schedule, or maybe the timing of a task needs to be changed. These changes must not be made arbitrarily. A project manager must keep careful tabs on all of the scheduled tasks in order to ensure that the project is under proper schedule control to ensure the success of the project.